I'm 83 years old. My name is Arthur, and I'm going to tell you something that most men are too proud to admit, and most children are too afraid to hear. When my wife Mary passed away, the world started looking at me like a structural ruin. Everyone had a plan for me. You need help, Arthur. It's time to move closer to the boys. A man your age shouldn't be living in a house this size alone. They meant well. But here is the cold, hard truth about getting older. The most reliable support you will ever have doesn't come from your sons or daughters. It doesn't come from your friends, and it definitely doesn't come from a world that views you as a liability. Independence isn't a gift. It's a fortification you build. And if you don't build these 5 things for yourself right now, you won't just grow old. You'll vanish. I've watched it happen. I've seen strong men become burdens, relegated to the corner chair until they became invisible. But I've also seen a few who stayed whole, who stayed the captains of their own lives. The difference wasn't luck. It was a choice. 1. The war for your movement. The first thing you must defend is your ability to move. I learned this the hard way at 75. I woke up one morning and my body had declared a strike. I tried to sit up and my spine felt like a rusted iron rod. I had to grip the edge of the mattress just to keep from collapsing back down. My knees wouldn't straighten. I sat there, sweating, thinking, this is it. The slow decline has finally caught up to me. I thought of my old friend Miller. He was only 72 when he decided the stairs were too much work. Within a year, he moved into his son's basement. Within 2 years, he barely left his recliner. He didn't lose his mind. He lost his legs. And when a man loses his legs, he loses his right to decide where his life goes. That morning, terrified as I was, I made a vow. I started walking every single day. It wasn't about fitness. It was about sovereignty. Some days my joints screamed. Some days it was freezing. Some days I was so tired I wanted to quit. I didn't do anything fancy, just 30 minutes around the block. I did leg lifts in my chair. I stretched my hamstrings while the coffee was brewing. But today, at 83, I still get out of bed without a groan. I carry my own lumber for the garden. I don't have to wait for a phone call to go to the hardware store. I don't have to ask. My friend George is 79. He stopped moving 5 years ago because his hips ached. The more he sat, the worse the stiffness got. Now, he's a prisoner in his own living room. If you treat your body like a vintage car that you're afraid to drive, it will seize up. You have to move it like your life depends on it, because it does. 2. The power of needing less. The second thing is a psychological trap, the belief that more equals security. I used to believe that. A bigger garage, more tools, more comfort, but I was wrong. True security for an old man is needing less. 2 years after Mary died, I sat at my desk looking at the overhead costs of my life. The house was a museum. The heating bill was a joke. The maintenance was a full-time job. I was spending my final years working for a house I didn't even use anymore. I looked at my neighbor, Mr. Hartley. He'd worked his tail off for 40 years, had a massive pension, but he built a life that was a financial black hole, a huge property, 2 cars he didn't drive, and a lifestyle that required a staff. By 74, the math broke. He started asking his son for loans. Every time I saw him after that, he looked defeated, like his authority as a father had been traded for a check. I refused to let that happen. I sold the big house. I bought a small 1-floor workshop-style home, low maintenance, paid in full. I kept one reliable truck and got rid of the rest. I learned to live simply. And then something strange happened. I felt more powerful, not because I had more money, but because nobody had leverage over me. When you need less, you don't have to make concessions. You don't have to nod and agree with people just because they're helping you. My friend Bill is 81. He's still in his 5-bedroom house. He can't afford the repairs, so he begs his kids for help. and I can see the resentment in his son's eyes. Bill has more stuff than I do, but I am a free man. He's a guest in his own life. 3. Health is not luck, it's an investment. The third thing, your health is not a roll of the dice. It's a daily discipline. After 60, your body stops forgiving your mistakes. I watched my brother Jack ignore every warning light on the dashboard. He ate like he was still 20, he smoked, and he laughed at medical advice. "I'm fine," he'd say. "I'm a tough old bird." At 71, the bird crashed. Heart disease, high blood pressure. Suddenly, his entire existence was a pill organizer. He didn't die, but his life became management of decline. That's all he is now, a collection of symptoms. I took a different path. I started eating like my life depended on it. I drank water like it was fuel. I went to the doctor when I felt strong just to keep the engine tuned. Now, at 83, I take 0 daily medications. I'm not lucky, I just put in the work, and because of that, I don't need a caretaker. I don't need a nurse to remind me to breathe. I am free because I kept the machine running. If you don't pay for your health now, you will pay for your neglect later with your freedom. 4. The architecture of resilience. This fourth one is the hardest for us men. It's the ability to handle loss without becoming a shadow. After 60, you start losing the things that defined you. Your career ends, your friends pass away, your wife, your anchor, is gone. The question isn't whether you'll be hit by loss. The question is, can you take the hit and keep standing? When Mary died, I felt like my identity had been deleted. We'd been together for nearly half a century. I had 2 choices. I could collapse. I could let the grief turn me into the sad old dad who needs his kids to visit every weekend just to feel alive. I could use my mourning to guilt people into staying near me. Or I could grieve and keep my post. I chose to stay at my post. I cried. I felt the silence. But I kept my routines. I kept my woodworking. I kept my morning walks. I showed up for my life, even when it felt empty. My friend Frank lost his wife around the same time. He chose the other path. He stopped everything. He sat in the dark and waited for his kids to fix his loneliness. But they couldn't. Nobody can fix that for you. Now he's 80, living in a permanent state of bitter dependency. The difference isn't that I loved my wife less. It's that I didn't expect anyone else to carry my burden for me. Resilience isn't about being tough. It's about being able to get up when you're the only one left in the room. 5. Sovereignty of the mind. The final thing is the most important. You must know who you are and refuse to surrender. The moment you turn 75, people start trying to manage you. Doctors talk past you to your children. Your kids start making decisions for your own protection. They treat you like you've lost your vote. If you don't know your own boundaries, what you will and will not tolerate, you will be erased. I watched this happen to Steve. His kids convinced him to give up his car. Then they convinced him to move to a community. Then they stopped asking his opinion on family matters. At 77, Steve isn't a man anymore. He's a project. My son tried that with me. He suggested I move into a senior living facility because he was worried. I didn't lose my temper. I looked him in the eye and said, "I appreciate the concern, but as long as I can walk and think, I'm staying in my house. If that changes, I'll be the first to tell you. But that day is not today." He pushed. He used safety as a weapon. But I knew my line. I knew that my dignity was worth more than a padded room. I am 83. I am in my own home. I make my own coffee. I make my own mistakes. Not because I'm a stubborn old fool, but because if you don't keep the wheel, someone else will drive your life into a ditch. The final line movement. Simplicity, health, resilience, sovereignty. Nobody can build these for you. And once you have them, nobody can take them away. I'm not saying your family doesn't love you. They do. But love isn't a substitute for your own strength. You have to be able to stand on your own, or you will eventually break the people you're leaning on. That isn't fair to them, and it's not the way a man should go out. If you're 60, 70, or 80, it is not too late. But you have to start now. At 85, you won't regret the discipline. You will only regret the days you spent waiting for someone to save you. Now, there is something else. Something even more dangerous that happens to a man living alone. There are 3 specific hard truths about solitude that I wish someone had warned me about. The things that happen in the quiet hours of the night. If you want to know how I face them without breaking, you need to watch this video right here. Click it and let's talk man to man. Subscribe if you want to sit with me again. Until then, take care of yourself. Truly.